What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and this list video really only includes 2 games. Just a heads up. I really feel like there are only 2 overrated MMOs because overall, the MMO market, I think we can all agree, is askew. It is strange, and it either targets hyper-focused niches, or in general, the games kind of fall flat in a number of different ways. But there are 2 games that are incredibly freaking popular around the world that have incredible fan bases. They are tooth and nail fighting in the comments of every video ever about anything that you might say that they might disagree with. And it's kind of funny because these 2 games are genuinely, they're so well known that most people can agree to the pros and the cons and then make their decision to purchase, to continue playing based on those. But the people who do play every single day, they're just incredibly vocal. So that's why I'm making this video. I'm making this video to get shit on, I guess. So I can just have a bunch of dislikes slammed up my butthole. But yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm talking about overrated MMO. Let's go. Alright, so I lied. There's 3 games. This is an honorable mention. And it's only honorable, okay, because RuneScape. Old school, I'm talking about old school RuneScape. Old school RuneScape is a bit overrated. And that's only because, really, guys, critically, we really do need to talk about the graphics and the UI. Most people do not use the default launcher. I think as a mobile game, it's a great mobile game. And I think it's really fantastic in a lot of amazing ways that a lot of people don't give it credit for quite as much as it should. Like, the questing in RuneScape is the best. You can ask almost, I'm pretty sure, every single MMO reviewer, it's the best questing. But a lot of people don't talk about it. So yeah, in a lot of ways, it is underrated. And I actually, in a way, I kind of like the graphic styling. Like, I think RuneScape 3 really kind of hits it just right. But old school RuneScape really is clunky. And it actually doesn't run as well as it should in a lot of ways. Also, I hate that it's not a browser game anymore. Why isn't it a browser-based game? I mean, I'm glad it's on mobile, so that's cool. But it's kind of really, really grindy. You know, there's a lot of things that a lot of people also kind of, I don't know, people champion. Like the fact that people multi-box and, you know, there's so many bots. There's a tremendous amount of botting inside of RuneScape. Also, there's a ton of drama with the game. It is an MMO, games as a service, and how its services, how its tournaments are ran, how its updates are dished out. There's a lot of cool things like the voting system, but overall, I don't think it's been updated as much as I'd like. You know, for how much money RuneScape makes. Is the innovation really there? It's kind of split between 2 different games, isn't it? There are some things that kind of, you know, I could totally see why new people don't get into RuneScape, is all I'm saying. It's overrated because basically we are nostalgic. I played it back in the day, and so I can get back into it. But brand new people, which are coming up every single day, there is a reason why they can't play it. Like they download it and they're like, ew, I cannot play that. I felt that with MapleStory. I felt that with a bunch of other older MMOs. Not all of them. I actually was able to play Meridian 59, surprisingly. But no, I totally get it. There are some things that completely ruin RuneScape. And they kind of refuse to change or update those things, or they're doing it very, very slowly, such as the client update. And I don't quite agree with that. So I do think it's a little bit overrated, but at the same time, it's also kind of underrated for some reasons as well. So that's just an honorable mention. I'm throwing it out there. And yes, the other 2 games are also the most popular MMO coming up. All right, guys, I'm about to get kicked in the balls, but hopefully we can all be adults here. And if you're not an adult, hopefully we can pretend to be. Classic World of Warcraft. And I think now this actually isn't too controversial because the reason why it is overrated is for the same reason why you stopped playing it. And that's because it's not being updated as much as it should. As well, the entire meta of the game, now that it has really been completely divulged and understood, analyzed, dissected, everyone can kind of move through the game much, much quicker than they used to. And as a whole, as a community, we're going to need the game to update much quicker than it used to back then as well. And really, there should have been more balance fixes. There should have been more fine-tunings. And honestly, some things of Classic World of Warcraft should not have been put back in the game. I really think that Classic World of Warcraft is amazing. And I loved my time with it, leveling as a shaman. And actually, I tried out a bunch of different classes. But it's kind of broken in a lot of different ways, and in most of those ways, it actually is not a fun broken, to be honest. Not only that, but the way Classic World of Warcraft launched with not as many servers as they needed, I guess, and the infrastructure just could not handle actually like true massively multiplayer gameplay. It was weird. It was crashing and lagging all over the place. FPS drops galore. Like, actually, it's weird, but Classic World of Warcraft kind of didn't perform as well as I thought it should have. I think it should have had kind of like a really better update. Now, I know they actually kind of touched up on some of the graphics, like some things here and there, some balance tweaks were had, but I don't think it was enough. But I do think that if a game were to come out in the image of Classic World of Warcraft and did it right, like not giving people pointless skills while leveling, actually having proper balance so that, you know, different roles could really exist, because back then they didn't know what they were doing, which added, you know, some chaos to the mix, which is good. There was some really fun experimental things that worked out, and then there was a lot that didn't. And basically, we can just kind of see what Classic World of Warcraft is, and it's good. It's not bad. It's actually genuinely fun. But it's kind of a limited time thing. It does lose its magic, and honestly, most MMOs do. And that's why you need to constantly update them and, you know, add new content. And this does work. I think Classic World of Warcraft, they will continue to do it. It works great with old school RuneScape, but a lot of, other than old school RuneScape, really, a lot of these refresh servers or classic versions kind of fall flat. Classic World of Warcraft did not fall flat, so don't get me wrong. It's good, but it was highly overrated, to be honest. And that's, I played Classic. Okay, I played Classic. I played this as well. I played literally vanilla World of Warcraft up to, you know, Lich King, and then I came back and I played this new version. I streamed it. My video's up. You can watch it. I had a good time. I was hype. But the time ended, and there was some discomfort as well. So it's not just the, you know, the Jesus Christ of MMOs. It didn't come to save the day. It was just fun. And yeah, I think the number one overrated MMO, which I don't think there's many, but I do think that this one is the most overrated MMO. Crucify me here, Final Fantasy XIV. So basically, I've noticed a trend that when people review Final Fantasy XIV, critical people, they end up having to take down their videos, even if the review isn't that bad. Even if they do say some pretty positive things about the game, if in general they end with the, this game isn't for me, they end up having to private their videos, because the people who play Final Fantasy XIV are obsessed. You just are. It is the way it is. It's just one of those games. In fact, there is a list of games that YouTubers have in their heart, locked away, that they generally don't tell anybody, but we know that we can't say certain things about them. Now, I will, because, fuck it, I'm a small YouTuber, I can do whatever I want, even though I'm desperate to grow. I'm trying to get to 100K, so I'm trying to keep the hype alive, but sometimes I'll throw it out. I'll be like, yeah, you know what, actually, Warframe is, you know, it's kind of actually like a mobile game, like, monetization scheme, and it's totally grand. So, there's certain games, like Warframe, a lot of anime games, you can't touch those, and Final Fantasy XIV is just one of those games that has a really hardcore fan base, and you can't really knock it. So basically, what makes it an overrated MMO? Okay, I'm going to come out and say something pretty controversial. So I haven't played through the full content of Final Fantasy XIV because that's a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of time, and as well, there is copyright infringement stuff in the cutscenes. I can't stream the game because there's cutscenes, and I'll be demonetized, and I'll get copyright strikes. Okay, so, but Final Fantasy XIV, I have not seen, and I've watched a lot of streams and a lot of content, I haven't seen any actual proper, massively multiplayer online content for the game. You know, like in World of Warcraft, you can see like the world sieges, world PvP, Guild Wars 2 has giant boss battles. You know, like there's certain MMOs where it's just like, yeah, that's an MMO. I actually haven't seen that at all for Final Fantasy XIV. In fact, when it comes to the MMO content, I really think it's entirely lacking. But, well, hold the horses, keyboard warriors. Actually, I bet Final Fantasy XIV, and I am hungry to play it, especially as a red mage, I would like to play it. I bet it's a really fun story. I think it's probably a good online JRPG, a really good cooperative Final Fantasy game. In fact, you guys love it, and all the reviews kind of treat it like that it happens to be an online Final Fantasy game. Like, if I were to come from, like, Final Fantasy 9 to Final Fantasy 14, I think I would have a tremendous time. But I'm coming from games like Guild Wars and World of Warcraft and, like, PlanetSide and, like, other objectively massive multiplayer games. Final Fantasy XIV, though, the pace is entirely different as well. You know, looking at Elder Scrolls and Guild Wars with the full voice acting. What? It's like, what was going on with this game? The pace is very, very slow. And in a world where people are, you know, like, I guess it's not all about the end game. It's supposed to be about the journey. But some people kind of forget that people have different ways of journeying. In a normal MMO, you can either grind monsters or you can rush through the questing, but Final Fantasy XIV seems like a game where you don't really have a choice. You can't just go in Guild Wars 2, you know, you can PvP in that game, and that's how you level. That's fine. You can just do jumping puzzles or explore or whatever, but in Final Fantasy XIV, you don't really have choices. You really play the game a pretty specific way, and if you're not that kind of player, the game's not for you. And the thing is if you say that in anywhere on the internet, you're crucified. But yeah, if you like Final Fantasy like 7, 8, 9, if you like the, you know, classic Final Fantasies, maybe 12 even especially. So you come into Final Fantasy 14, it's online, they have some really interesting class mechanics, but in the end, the roles, it does seem mostly like it's rotational gameplay, DPS, like, you know, tanks feel like DPS, healers feel like DPS because that's what you're doing. But also another thing I could criticize is the skills and the way the game looks. Too many skills kind of on the screen, even though I can play it with a controller, and I did, actually. You know, I feel like also, like, the actual particle effects is not that unique. Like in World of Warcraft, each class really has like its own special flavor and look, as well as Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 like, has very interesting painterly effects, and many others, but it's kind of noisy in Final Fantasy XIV, and it is very Final Fantasy, in a sense, where you just kind of have these big bombastic skills, which are technically very spectacle-y, but they're also just kind of meaningless. Like, a lot of skills could be, like, the graphics could just be switched around, and it wouldn't matter. They're just kind of vague little particle effects, you know? Like, it looks like some basic stuff that you can just get for free in Unreal Engine and just throw it on. That's really a big complaint, but then again, that's kind of been Final Fantasy for a while. There's just been kind of nonsensical spell effects for, you know, like gravity or whatever, Gravija, I can't remember, you know, stuff like, and like with the white skill, it's just like, what even the fuck is that? So, yeah, you know, I mean, I got some complaints about the game, they've been made before, but basically Final Fantasy XIV, it's an overrated MMO. I'm not saying it's an overrated game, but it is an overrated MMO in terms of its massively multiplayer component, and in terms of what really makes MMOs special. I don't think Final Fantasy XIV deserves the crown there, but for what it is, and for those who like it, awesome, good for you, but don't kill everyone else who says that it's not for them. That's all I gotta say. Okay, so that video was something. I have no idea how this is gonna perform, but I said my piece. There it is. And I do actually plan to jump into Final Fantasy XIV here pretty soon, because those reviews of Shadowbringers are pretty amazing. And I actually would love to play Classic World of Warcraft on the next big update again. And of course, I actually do still have Old School RuneScape on my phone. I play it a good bit. I need to play it much more though, much more. But anyways, guys, they're just overrated in terms of MMOs. And then again, the MMO genre, I think we could all admit, is just not, you know, in the greatest spot ever right now. So whenever we do champion games, we should do it for the games that really deserve it. And I've got list videos on that. I just did Underrated, and I'm going to do more coming soon. And I can just shout out one that I really love right now that everyone's getting back into, PlanetSide 2. That one really needs to be rated much higher. People really need to talk about it. But anyways, I got more MMO content, more living world, more online gaming goodness coming up pretty soon here. Much love. And if you guys actually do want to collaborate with me, join me on the Discord. Let's have some fun. Let's play together. So, keep that hype alive, guys. And I'll see you again next time.